Isn't it peculiar how we tend to put our interests first in many aspects of our lives, yet paradoxically, we also have this deep-seated tendency to value the perspectives of others more than our own? It's an intriguing paradox that's worthy of exploration. I mean, think about it. We invest an incredible amount of time and energy into worrying about how we are perceived by others, don't we? But let's pause for a moment and consider this. Is this anxiety over others' judgments a productive use of our time, particularly in this day and age, where individuality is championed and celebrated more than ever before? It seems counterintuitive. Interestingly, this concept is nothing new. If we travel back in time and delve into the teachings of the ancient Stoics, we find that they were quite avant-garde in developing and practicing the art of indifference to others' judgments. Stay with me in this video as I unpack their compelling rationale behind the practice of not sweating over what others might be thinking or saying about us. Now, let's be honest. It's incredibly easy to fall into this collective trap of worrying about others' opinions and comments about us. We find ourselves entangled in this web of concern, even when those others are absolute strangers. The Roman Emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius hit the nail on the head when he remarked that we tend to obsess more over others' thoughts than our own. But why is this so? What could possibly drive us to this seemingly self-defeating habit? One plausible explanation traces back to our most primal instincts. Our anxiety over approval is likely rooted in a deep-seated fear of abandonment that has been imprinted in our psyche from ancient times. Remember, during tribal periods, being ostracized or left to fend for oneself was tantamount to a death sentence. So naturally, seeking acceptance and validation from the group was an essential survival strategy. This behavior is not limited to humans either. If you observe animals, for instance, dogs who are pack animals by nature, express profound distress when they are left alone by their human owners. They, too, are programmed to dread solitude and abandonment. But let's consider this from a logical perspective. In most circumstances today, there's no reason to fear being left alone or isolated. Our lives are rarely in danger when someone dislikes us or disapproves of our actions. Certainly, it's nice to feel loved and cherished by those around us. I won't deny that I appreciate the numerous likes I get on my YouTube videos. But here's the key takeaway. We don't need approval from others to survive, and more importantly, to be happy. The Stoics offered a rather liberating perspective on this issue. According to their philosophy, having a good reputation is a preferred indifference. It's nice to have, but not having it doesn't hinder us from living a virtuous life. In other words, if we are living a life aligned with our values and principles, why should we be affected by the opinions of others? We know within ourselves that we're living a life that we deem worthy and fulfilling. And ultimately, isn't that all that truly matters? I find myself continuously amazed and, dare I say, surprised by the conundrum that exists in the concept of validation and public approval. Think about it. Even an iconic figure like Jesus Christ, who was the very embodiment of kindness, compassion, and love, was met with scorn and derision from crowds. He gave endlessly, helped countless people, and still he was condemned. Makes one wonder about the fickle nature of public opinion, doesn't it? This echoes the sentiment held by Marcus Aurelius, a prominent figure in history who wore two significant hats, that of a Roman emperor and a Stoic philosopher. He was quite candid and upfront about his disdain for the pursuit of public approval, which was, in his mind, the equivalent of chasing the wind. Here's a quote that puts his viewpoint into perspective. What's truly valuable, the applause from a crowd? No, it's no more important than their idle chatter. Public praise amounts to nothing more than idle chatter. Simple words, but such profound wisdom. Now, if we carefully deconstruct and ponder the core of receiving validation, it ranges from the thunderous applause from an audience to digital thumbs-up signs or heart emojis on social media platforms like Facebook. What do we find? At its core, it's either a series of physical gestures or a combination of pixels on a screen, giving us a temporary surge of joy, a momentary high. However, the thrill is fleeting, short-lived, and before you know it, you're chasing after the next likes, the next applause. Validation, therefore, fails to offer enduring contentment. Instead, creating a vicious cycle of insatiable desire for more, it's a treadmill that never stops. Therefore, dedicating our entire existence to seeking such fleeting validation seems not just pointless but also rather self-destructive. Still, despite such clarity, people often become distressed when they do not receive the validation they believe they are entitled to, or discover that someone bears a disliking or even loathing towards them. It's a peculiar situation. On one hand, we know validation doesn't bring lasting happiness, and on the other hand, we're upset when we don't receive it. In more extreme cases, a mere slight or a frivolous insult can trigger violence. It's a rather volatile response, don't you think? The Stoics had an insightful take on this. They noted that we don't have control over other people's opinions or behaviors, and that which is beyond our control is unpredictable and liable to change. Hence, the more we value these uncontrollable aspects, the less control we end up having over our peace of mind and emotional well-being. It's a harsh truth, but an important one to understand and accept. Let's face it. No matter what we do or how much we try to be good, there will always be individuals who do not agree with us, who do not appreciate us. There will always be ungrateful people, aggressive people, hate-filled people, cruel people, judgmental people. That's just part of the reality we live in. But remember, our worth is not determined by their opinions. It's quite a common occurrence in our lives where we find ourselves fostering resentment towards individuals who've been critical of us, sometimes even dedicating an entire lifetime ruminating over their harsh and stinging words. Now, to put this into perspective, here's an enlightening quote from the ancient Stoic philosopher Epictetus. He once said, "When you're criticized or hated, or when people spread harmful rumors about you, examine their souls, delve into them, and see their true nature. You'll realize that there's no need to worry about their opinions of you." In a nutshell, Epictetus is encouraging us to evaluate the person who is criticizing us. If we manage to delve deeper and understand their true nature, we might find out that their harsh words might not necessarily be about us. To hold on to resentment is akin to drinking poison and then expecting the other person to fall ill. It's nothing but a futile exercise in self-torture. Instead, if we practice a bit of empathy and kindness, we might come to realize that the ones who are causing us pain are also humans with their own set of imperfections. There could be a multitude of reasons behind their negative thoughts or harsh comments towards us. They might be acting out of ignorance, prejudice, or annoyance, or they could simply be pointing out a real weakness or flaw that we possess. We do find truth in their criticism. We're presented with two choices. We can either make an effort to rectify our shortcomings or we can choose to disregard it. Either way, spending our precious time and energy brooding over someone's contempt for us is certainly not a worthwhile investment. While we can't exert control over what others perceive of us, what we do have total control over is our reaction to these external opinions, our reaction to the world outside. In fact, has a significant role in determining our sense of happiness, and if we find ourselves unduly affected by others' negative opinions, it's not their fault per se. Rather, it's our own minds that are excessively worried about elements outside of our control and factors that are largely irrelevant to our mental well-being. So to summarize and put things into perspective, what others think of us really isn't our concern. It's about how we perceive ourselves and how we react to these external elements that truly matters. Thank you for taking the time to watch this, and I hope it offers a fresh perspective on dealing with criticism and negativity.